The British Army captured them in battle, then immediately offered them jobs. Asterisk, asterisk. Act 1. The Unconquerable Hills. Asterisk, asterisk. In 1814, the sprawling British East India Company, hungry for new territories, pushed into the northern hills of Nepal. They expected little resistance. Instead, they met the Gurkhas, a force unlike any they had encountered. These were short, stocky men armed with curved knives and an unshakable resolve. The Anglo-Nepalese War, a brutal two-year conflict, would rewrite British military doctrine. At the Battle of Kalunga in October 1814, British Major General Sir Robert Gillespie, a seasoned veteran of battles against Napoleon, led 3,500 highly trained company soldiers against a mere 600 Gurkhas. Gillespie, confident of an easy victory, personally led 4 suicidal frontal assaults against the Gurkha fort. He died on the 4th charge, shot through the heart, his body left to rot outside the walls. His forces suffered 31 officers and 700 men killed or wounded, a catastrophic loss that stunned the British. The Gurkhas, under their legendary commander Balabhadra Kunwar, fought to the last man. When their water supply was finally cut off and their fort reduced to rubble, the surviving 70 Gurkhas, too few to hold the position, silently slipped away into the night. They left behind a trail of British dead and a new, terrifying legend. The British, who had never truly been defeated in Asia, had found their match in a people barely 5 feet tall. By 1816, the war concluded with the Treaty of Sugauli. Nepal ceded territory, but crucially maintained its independence. The British, rather than seeking further conquest, immediately sought to recruit these fierce warriors into their own ranks. They had witnessed firsthand the Gurkhas' unparalleled courage and fighting spirit. It was an unprecedented move, born of respect and sheer necessity. The first Gurkha regiments, the Sirmoor Battalion and the Malayan Battalion, were raised almost immediately. These were the progenitors of today's Brigade of Gurkhas, a lineage stretching back over 2 centuries. The men came from the Gurkha kingdom, a name synonymous with their martial prowess, and their signature weapon, the kukri, became as feared as it was iconic. A Gurkha never drew his kukri without drawing blood. It was a promise, not a threat. Asterisk, asterisk. Act 2. Forging an empire's edge. Asterisk, asterisk. The Gurkhas quickly proved their loyalty and effectiveness. Just 41 years after their first recruitment, in 1857, the Sepoy Mutiny erupted across India. Indian regiments of the British East India Company rose up against their colonial masters. The Gurkhas, despite sharing ethnicity and culture with many of the rebels, remained steadfastly loyal to the British. This unwavering allegiance proved pivotal. At the Siege of Delhi, a brutal 4-month struggle, the Gurkhas formed a crucial part of the British forces. They fought house to house, street to street, enduring blistering heat and relentless combat. Their bravery was legendary. One Gurkha battalion, the 8th Gurkha Rifles, suffered 327 casualties out of 490 men, a staggering 66% loss rate. Their loyalty saved British India. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Gurkhas were deployed across the expanding British Empire. They fought in Afghanistan, the Punjab, and the Northwest frontier. In 1900, they were part of the International Expeditionary Force that put down the Boxer Rebellion in China. Their reputation preceded them. Enemies learned to dread the sight of the Gurkha hat and the glint of the kukri. Their unique fighting style, honed in the rugged Himalayas, translated perfectly to close-quarters combat. They were masters of stealth, endurance, and fearless aggression. Unlike many European armies, Gurkhas rarely took prisoners when the fighting was desperate. This brutal efficiency was a calculated part of their legend. They were not merely soldiers, they were mountain predators. By the outbreak of World War I, over 200,000 Gurkhas had served or were serving in the British Indian Army. Their contributions were invaluable, and their presence became synonymous with the might of the British Empire. They had earned the unofficial title of Bravest of the Brave, a moniker that would be tested on the blood-soaked battlefields of Europe and beyond. Asterisk, asterisk. Act 3. The Trenches and the Peaks. Asterisk, asterisk. When World War I exploded in 1914, Gurkha regiments were among the first Indian Army units deployed to the Western Front. The Germans, accustomed to European adversaries, were shocked by these small, ferocious fighters. At the Battle of Loos in 1915, the 8th Gurkha Rifles launched a desperate charge. They stormed enemy trenches, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat, their kukris flashing under machine gun fire. The Gurkhas, mountain people unaccustomed to flat plains and static warfare, adapted with astonishing speed to the horrors of trench warfare. They excelled at raiding parties, silently infiltrating enemy lines, their presence alone often enough to break enemy morale. It was here that Rifleman Kulbir Thapa earned the first Gurkha Victoria Cross in September 1915. Under heavy fire, he rescued 2 wounded British soldiers, 1 German, and carried them back to safety, making 3 separate trips across no man's land. But the Western Front was not their only crucible. In 1915, Gurkhas were also deployed to the Gallipoli campaign, a disastrous Allied attempt to seize the Dardanelles. At Sari Bair, a key ridge, the 1st/6th Gurkhas, Rifles launched a daring night attack. They captured the summit but were then decimated by Turkish counterattacks and friendly fire from British artillery. Despite their losses, their bravery was legendary. The Gurkha contribution to Wolubaywan was immense. Over 200,000 Gurkhas served, suffering approximately 20,000 casualties. They earned 24 Victoria Crosses, the highest award for gallantry in the British and Commonwealth forces. Their unwavering spirit in the face of machine guns and gas attacks cemented their reputation as elite shock troops. They proved that courage knew no height requirement. Even in the squalor of the trenches, the Gurkhas' disciplined nature shone through. They were meticulous in maintaining their equipment, stoic in the face of suffering, and fiercely loyal to their comrades. Their presence on the front lines, often singing traditional Nepali songs before an attack, instilled both fear in the enemy and confidence in their allies. Asterisk, asterisk, Act 4. Jungle Fury in the Second World War. Asterisk, asterisk. World War II saw an even greater mobilization of Gurkha forces. Over 250,000 Gurkhas served in the British Indian Army, fighting across the globe, in North Africa, Italy, Greece, and most famously, the jungles of Burma. They were the backbone of the forgotten army, battling the Japanese in some of the war's most brutal conditions. In the dense, malaria-ridden jungles of Burma, Gurkhas found their element. Their natural stealth, tracking skills, and endurance made them perfectly suited for jungle warfare against a fanatical enemy. They were experts at ambushes and close-quarters combat, often engaging the Japanese in hand-to-hand fights, where the kukri proved devastatingly effective. The Japanese learned to fear the silent approach of a Gurkha patrol. One of the most astonishing acts of bravery came from Rifleman Lahiman Gurung in May 1945. During an attack on his platoon's forward position in Burma, Gurung single-handedly held off 200 Japanese soldiers for 4 hours. He was wounded by 2 grenades, losing his right hand, having his arm shattered and sustaining multiple bullet wounds. Yet, he continued to fire his rifle with his left hand until all ammunition was expended. He then used his kukri to dispatch the remaining attackers. He survived, earning a Victoria Cross. Gurkhas were also integral to the Chindits, Wingate's Special Operations Forces, who conducted deep penetration raids behind Japanese lines. Their ability to survive and fight in the harshest environments was unmatched. They navigated impossible terrain, carried heavy loads, and fought with an intensity that broke Japanese morale. The Japanese called them devil soldiers. By the end of the war, Gurkhas had earned 13 Victoria Crosses, in addition to countless other gallantry awards. Their casualty rate was staggering, reflecting the ferocity of their combat. They had faced down the Japanese banzai charges with unwavering resolve, proving time and again that a Gurkha would never yield ground. Their contribution was crucial to the Allied victory in the East. Asterisk, asterisk. Act 5. A new loyalty, a new jungle. Asterisk, asterisk. The end of World War II brought monumental change. In 1947, British India gained independence, splitting into India and Pakistan. The Gurkha regiments, a core component of the British Indian Army, faced an uncertain future. A tripartite agreement between Britain, India, and Nepal settled their fate. 4 regiments would transfer to the newly formed Indian Army, and 6 would remain with the British. This division was a wrenching experience for many Gurkhas who had served under the same banner for generations. Yet, their professionalism and loyalty remained. Those who stayed with the British Army, now known as the Brigade of Gurkhas, quickly found themselves deployed to another brutal conflict, the Malayan Emergency, 1948 to 1960. In Malaya, Gurkhas fought a prolonged counterinsurgency campaign against communist guerrillas in dense, unforgiving jungle terrain. This was not conventional warfare. It was a war of tracking, ambushes, and psychological attrition. The Gurkhas, with their exceptional jungle skills, proved invaluable. They could move silently through the undergrowth, track an enemy for days, and deliver decisive strikes. Their patrols were legendary for their stealth and endurance. Gurkhas would often spend weeks deep in the jungle, living off the land, patiently hunting their elusive enemy. The communist insurgents quickly learned to fear the sound of a Gurkha patrol, or more accurately, the *** of sound. A Gurkha could make the jungle his ally and his enemy's tomb. The Malayan Emergency solidified the Gurkhas' reputation as the world's premier jungle fighters. Their discipline, courage, and unique cultural bonds made them an unstoppable force in this type of warfare. They suffered significant casualties, but ultimately played a crucial role in defeating the insurgency, ensuring the stability of the newly independent Malaya. ***, Act 6, Modern Steel and Lingering Shadows. ***. In 1982, the world watched as Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands. Britain responded with a task force, and among the elite units deployed were the Gurkhas. Their reputation had preceded them. Argentine soldiers were terrified of the Gurkhas, believing them to be savage, headhunting warriors who would decapitate them with their kukris. This psychological warfare was as potent as any bullet. At the Battle of Mount Tumbledown, the 2nd Battalion, 7th Duke of Edinburgh's own Gurkha rifles launched a bayonet charge against heavily entrenched Argentine positions. The Argentinians, despite superior numbers and defensive positions, broke and fled. The Gurkhas suffered only minor casualties, demonstrating their continued dominance in close-quarters combat. Their mere presence often caused panic. After the Falklands, Gurkhas continued to serve in conflicts worldwide. They were deployed in the Gulf Wars, Afghanistan, and various peacekeeping missions. Their training evolved, incorporating modern weaponry and tactics, but their core fighting spirit remained unchanged. They are still recognized as among the most effective light infantry in the world. However, the Gurkhas also faced battles off the field. For decades, they were paid less and received inferior pensions compared to their British counterparts, despite serving the crown with equal valor. In a landmark campaign led by actress Joanna Lumley in 2009, Gurkhas finally won the right